Yo guys, what's up? It's me again, Speo with the voice of reason. So last week we layered some different drum samples to create big drum sounds, and this week we'll do the same, but with synthesizer sounds. Now I won't be showing you how you can create a certain synth sound. I'd rather like to remind you with this tutorial that if you wanna go big in dubstep, you'll need to layer your stuff. And I've created this quick example right here just to show you guys what I mean. Now, of course, this is quite a simple example, but it still sounds pretty big, and that is due to the layering of the different synth sounds that are in there. Now, let me just quickly go over the different synths. First up, we got this fat growl right here, which is, by the way, the growl that I created in the fat growl tutorial 2 weeks back. And it just is kind of a nice sounding, very dirty bass. On top of that bass, I put this little arpeggio right here. And that just kind of gives it this nice dynamic feel, which is especially nice to the start of the drop. And at the bottom right here, we've got our little simple sine wave sub bass. And together they make up the first half of a bar of the drop, and I'd say they sound pretty big. Yeah. Then this whole thing goes into this kind of super saw, paddy style kind of section. Some people also call that a bass pad, because it's basically comprised out of a sub bass and then a dirty bass on top of that. And on top of those bass frequencies and dirty kind of stuff, we've got this nice sounding super saw big melodic harmonic pad thing. Now on their own, all these elements sound kind of boring and dull, but together they make for a pretty big bass pad. So as you can hear, layering really can step up your game and make these dubstep drops sound really big, and also lend an harmonic note, yeah, I got that out, to this whole thing. Okay, so now that we've got the structure down, I'll just give you a quick look at these different patches. So first up, we got the sub bass, which is, as I said, just a simple sine wave, and I put it in a maelstrom because, well, I'm kind of on a maelstrom hype, if you couldn't tell. So it's just a simple sine wave. No processing at all or anything. Then we've got the bass that's the basis for the bass pad, which is a maelstrom with a sawtooth times 16 wavetable at octave 3 and a flies wavetable with the motion at -64 on octave 2. The flies wavetable also goes through the filter B, which is turned off, into the shaper, which is turned off as well, and then into filter A, which is turned on bandpass 12 with the resonance up at 20, the frequency at 28, and it's being modulated by the filter envelope, which has an attack of 55, a decay of 95, and an filter envelope amount of 48, which gives it a little bit of movement. Yeah, it just moves it a bit. Then this runs into a tape distortion unit, some frequency ringer removement right here, and then, which is kind of important, I cut out the lows and the very highs of this patch, because the lows is where the sub sits, and the highs are being supplied by this big kind of super saw patch anyway, so I cut them off. So now to the super saw patch. This is nothing more than 2 sawtooth times 16 wavetables in this maelstrom, which are slightly detuned against each other, so -13 on the first one and +13 on the second one, and they're being spread by this little spread button right here, which is up at 127 for maximum spread. Then I just duplicated this maelstrom and moved both wavetables up an octave, so we've got these two on octave 4 and these two on octave 5, and I routed them into the same mixer. So they are just on channel 1 and 2 of this mixer right here. And then this mixer runs into a little bit of tape distortion on this Scream 4, just to tighten it up a little bit, so the damage is down at just 18, and the speed is all the way up, and the compression at 34. Then I turned on the cut and got rid of some mids, not too much, but just a little bit, so it doesn't hurt when it's played a little louder, and boosted some highs. And then again, this equalizer is kind of important, because I cut off all the lows and the lower mids, because those are being supplied by the sub and the dirty bass. Then I also boosted some highs again. And by the way, I cut out those lows by turning on param 1 and param 2 and bringing frequency, gain, and Q all the way down on both. Then some reverb and a stereo imager with the frequencies over 1.5 kilohertz on white. So it has this nice kind of stereo sound. And then a compressor that brings the reverb out a lot. Yeah, and that's it for the Supersaw patch. And together those three, so the sub bass, the dirty bass, and the Supersaw, they sound quite nice. So again, I'm just going over these patches in general, but this tutorial really is just there to remind you that if you layer your stuff, you'll sound a lot bigger right away. Okay, the ARP right here is not much to talk about really, it's just an antidote because it has an arpeggiator inbuilt on a pulse wave with a little bit of tape distortion. So there you go. Right, so this is it for the layering of synth tutorial. I hope this tutorial was useful. If it was, drop a like, that would be much appreciated. I will also be adding these patches to the Voice of Reason refill. If you want them in your rack, you can download them with the link in the description below. Okay, have a good one of whatever you're having. I'll see you next time. Cheers.